'Tis a season of family reunions and all of the pain that goes along with them. Ever-present questions of, how's your love life? Where are my grandchildren? Women are roaming around untethered to a man, getting ideas and thinking. They're voting.
There are some who have gone so far as to say that they want the 19th Amendment repealed.
I would support that.
They're doing better in education than boys are. They're ruining the workplace. The world is collapsing. Okay, I actually agree with you that the world is collapsing, but more in a climate crisis that's being sped up by late-stage capitalism and it's killing us all kind of way. But we do agree there. A woman recently shared that she completed her PhD at Oxford University. Congratulations, that's amazing. And she was really happy about it, saying, I passed my Viva exam. After 4 years of research, I successfully defended my research. You can call me doctor. Her post went viral, getting over 15 million views, and the comments turned furious. I mean, she wasted her time because a degree is not something that a man cares about. Heaven forbid a woman not spend every waking moment thinking about how to impress a man. Just look at that degree on that chick, said no man ever. Pipe down, woman. I'd guess less than 20% of women understand this. If you try to explain to them we don't give a about your degree, job, income, cats, etc., they react with hostility. Geez, I wonder why. I will call you doctor, in bed. Them eggs aren't getting any younger. Who's an edgy boy? What a good little edgy boy. Congrats on successfully becoming a biologist, but failing at biology. You're 30 years old with no kids or husband. A genetic dead end. She's 27, but wow, have we really not progressed past the point of Pride and Prejudice? Kicker is that she's from an academic family, proving that yes, you can be educated and also have children. It has been done multiple times. Just admit you're scared of intelligent women, Chad. It's okay. Guys, I'm really sorry about your involuntary celibacy, but you do know it's not my fault, right? Best response ever, doctor.
Women be women anymore? Why do you need a bank account? Why do you need a job? Why do you need friends? Why don't you just find a good man who's going to take care of you, add a bunch of babies for him, and take care of the house? It's such an easy life. It requires no thought at all, so you don't have to pretend that you're smart. You just coast. And just stop trying to have your little ideas, quit reading, and just make a bunch of babies as the gods intended.
It's about time you got your head out of those books and paid attention to more important things. Like me.
My guy, you do get that Gaston was not the good guy in that movie.
It's not right for a woman to read. Soon she starts getting ideas and thinking.
Gaston, you are positively primeval.
Why, thank you, Belle.
Like, she literally chose the equivalent of a bear. Educated women are bad. Single women are bad. They are the problem with the world. Clearly, we're just setting the bar too high.
The men came out and said, we want to get with women, we want to get married and have loving, happy relationships, but they were arguing that women are setting the bar too high. You say men haven't gone to therapy. Have you gone to therapy?
I go every week.
Do you really?
Absolutely, and I'm not ashamed to say.
That's a female thing. What you think men should go?
It's a female thing.
Absolutely. What should men go and sit in a room with a blue-haired woman
this
every week and
conversation
talk?
is so absolutely sexist that I don't even know if I can continue to
See, but that's classic. You're shutting it down by saying sexist, the same as blaming things for being racist. No, men are having a really hard time in today's world. I think many women
Why are they having a hard time?
Because women are delusional.
When actually, you'll find that women just want someone that views them as an equal and will share in the huge workload that comes along with trying to exist under late-stage capitalism. They don't want to be the one carrying most of the unpaid labour burden. We want an ally, a teammate, someone that will support us as we support them. There is such a moral panic being created about single women, and we need to talk about it. And it was actually my patrons that voted for this topic. The vote was so close though, so maybe next time we'll talk about the next most popular one. Have you ever had a thought so upsetting that you immediately think, why would my brain come up with something like that? Like, what if deep down I don't actually love my partner and I'm just wasting their time? Or, why did I just have that thought? Am I secretly a dangerous person? It's not just you, we all get unwanted thoughts like that sometimes. But if those thoughts keep coming back, cause you intense distress, and you spend hours just spiraling over them, then you might be dealing with something more than just overthinking. Those experiences can actually be signs of OCD. The thing is that OCD has been so misrepresented in pop culture. They picture the Monica from Friends version, quirky and organised, when the truth is, OCD isn't like that. Actual OCD involves unwanted, intrusive thoughts that feel so distressing you'll do anything to get rid of the anxiety. So you end up doing repetitive mental or physical behaviours. Like replaying your last conversation with your partner in your head 50 times, trying to figure out if you two really will make it. Or asking your friends to reassure you that you're a good person over and over. The problem is, those behaviours don't actually help in the long run. Those thoughts just come back stronger, which is why OCD can be so debilitating. But OCD is highly treatable with the right approach. OCD needs specialized therapy, specifically ERP, which stands for Exposure and Response Prevention. And that's why I want to tell you about NoCD. NoCD is the world's leading provider of OCD treatment, and every single one of their licensed therapists specializes in OCD and ERP therapy. They understand the unwanted, scary, taboo thoughts that can come along with OCD, and they know how to help you break free from them. NoCD makes treatment accessible with virtual sessions and insurance coverage for over 138 million Americans. They also provide support between sessions so you never have to face OCD alone. And the team makes it simple to get started. Go to nocd.com to book your free call and learn more. That's nocd.com. Thanks NoCD for sponsoring today's video.
Alright, everybody smile, please. Just everybody stand still.
Pew Research recently showed that when it comes to 12th grader girls, they're less interested in getting married than their male counterparts. In 1993, a larger share of girls, 83%, than boys, 76%, say they wanted to get married. In 2023, boys are more likely than girls to say they want to get married someday, 74% versus 61%. And the share of 12th graders who say they're very likely to want to have kids in this situation has also decreased over this time span, 48% in 2023 versus 64% in 1993. And then you see a tweet like this: I miss the old days when a wedding was the last time you'd see a woman in public. Why don't young women want to get married anymore? I think Patrick just answered the question. The kids are losing interest in marriage and having children? Oh god, those darn feminists. And it's extra funny because I'm a married feminist sharing this information. I think a big part of the shift when it comes to heterosexual relationships is that girls just want to have an equitable relationship. You know, equal amounts of effort, not doing extra unpaid labor, you know, all the stuff that I've talked about in another video. They don't want these red pill bros who are invested in the manosphere. Like with the Net Positive podcast, they said that mums secretly wanted things to fall apart if they went away or had a girls' night or something like that.
That you go out for a family thing, do you secretly hope the house falls apart? Mm-hmm. To be like, where's mom? Where's the how do we cook? Yeah. Where do we find the kids' diapers? What's the school like? Where are the socks and shoes at? Where does the fabric softener? Mm-hmm. Everybody at their job.
Yes.
Hopefully, I think hopes that it does kind of fall apart.
Of course, dude.
Yeah, everybody thinks that.
Of course.
Your relationship is my greatest fear realized.
I think that you'll find that we are exasperated when you ask us once again where the scissors are, even though they've lived in the same drawer for 8 years. You'll be glad to know that the comments are showing him exactly how wrong he is, though. No, we prefer competence. It's not a break if I have to play catch up upon return. Exactly. 100%. You don't want to go away and have this nice relaxing time to then come back and you have double the workload. It's like going on holiday from a job and then you come back and there's just mountains of work to do. That isn't relaxing. That's not nice. No one likes that feeling. But it's even worse when you live there because there's literally no escape from it. Movember Institute of Men's Health reported that almost 2/3 of men aged 16 to 25 regularly engage with masculinity influences, and that group was reportedly more likely to have negative and limiting attitudes towards women and their roles in relationships. And I think we can understand why girls don't want to date guys like this.
Thing about women's rights. Personally, not a fan. Think we gave it a good run, but maybe we should just get it over with.
There's a problem when you're not seen as an autonomous human being, more of like a disobedient child. And like I talked about previously, what is wanted is a child who is obedient, moldable, and compliant. Not to mention easy to impress. There's no need to settle like there was in the past in order to be able to leave home and gain independence. You can thrive in university, get a job, get a good career, flat with other people, even live alone if you want to. In the Western world, you don't have to be tethered to a man in order to be able to have this independence and leave home anymore. Maybe this is also why higher education is being targeted as a bad thing, but more on that later. None other than the Institute for Family Studies, a right-wing think tank in case you are lucky enough to not know about them, have spoken about this growing issue, saying that women are more choosy and non-educated men are suffering. Starting the article with a statistic that over 40% of children born today are born out of wedlock. Sorry, actually, they say by unmarried mothers, because women are always the problem, remember? It's giving...
When you decided to be a single mom.
It's still weird that they even put that in the movie. One of their key takeaways is many college-educated women are happy to marry non-college-educated men, but they tend to skim off the most economically stable ones, in many cases likely still marrying up income-wise. Never any reflection on the fact that men find that girlfriends or their wives intimidating if they earn more than them. A 2012 study examined this as reported by Psychology Today, with specific quick regard to well-being, they noted that men's psychological well-being decreases when they are married to wives who make more money, and thus are greater contributors to the total family income. They found specifically that men with more traditional masculinity ideology involved with women who earned more money were more likely to have lower quality relationships due to the importance that such men played on the income disparity, to absolutely nobody's surprise. But still, men with more non-traditional masculinity weren't fazed if their partners earned more than them, and they were all happy in their relationships. It's almost like there's something that's the problem here. Because yes, patriarchy hurts everybody, even you, bro. You could be happy, but it means letting go of toxic masculinity and this constant need for approval by male peers, but that is also leading into a future video topic, which I really want to make, maybe next year. A perfect example of this is watching Sex and the City and seeing how Miranda was treated by her bartender boyfriend. She was a lawyer, he was a bartender, and he resented the fact that she got more money than him. And you could even see this play out when it comes to what Love is Blind, and he felt emasculated by the fact that she earned more than him.
I don't think she'll ever feel like I'm mooching, but I feel like a mooch, you know? She's like, I'll take care of it, like, don't worry about it. I think that'd be hard for like any blue-collar guy to absorb.
When it comes to Miranda, she was often framed as the emasculator.
It's my treat.
What?
I invited you to this thing. I want to pay for the suit.
No way. You're not buying me a suit. Then I start to think of you like my mother, and that can get a little weird for me.
Sorry, sir, it was declined. Would you like to try another one?
Why don't you try one of mine?
And it feels like people are trying to make excuses for why traditional masculinity is really good. Like Potty Mouth Pollyanna shares here on Joel Webbon's podcast.
Women need to be quiet. You need to be quiet. And men who love the women in their lives, but should love them enough to say, you don't get to drive the car anymore.
The lesson is not to appeal to liberal women. The lesson is to repeal women's rights to vote. You don't argue with insanity, you mitigate it.
And the problem is, like he says, there are sadly more guys thinking like this.
They're designed to squeeze the cheeks of little toddlers. That's what women are designed for. And when they're in their proper role, it's a good and wonderful, beautiful thing. But when I said that 3 years ago and it went viral, people hated it. I don't know if you've noticed. I've been doing some repeal the 19th posting myself, and it has changed in the last 3 years. There's still people who are upset and who don't like it. There is more support than I ever thought we would see.
And it's completely scary, and it's not okay. Gen Z men are apparently holding on to more traditional beliefs. This 2024 Starling Bank research, which interviewed over 3,000 UK adults in cohabiting relationships, showed more than 7 in 10, 71% of 18 to 24-year-old men believe the man should be the primary breadwinner within a relationship. Nearly 6 in 10, 58% of men aged 18 to 24 believe that men in a heterosexual relationship may feel emasculated if their partner were to earn more than them. Yet, young women were less likely to agree. A fifth in the same group, 20%, believed that the man should be the primary breadwinner, and only 16% agree that a man being out-earned by a female partner could be emasculating. And the youngest age group, 18 to 24-year-olds, are more likely than any other age group to split expenses equally, 73% versus an overall average of 53%. This research even showed that women were the primary payers for many expenses. Yes, in that 18 to 24 bracket. This traditional masculinity mindset is only hurting more than it is helping. And who is it hurting the most? Men. And this is where I once again implore people to please read the book The Will to Change by Bell Hooks. If you don't know what you want for Christmas, this is what you want for Christmas. What I find funniest about this whole moral panic about single women is not too long ago in the past, to be a cool girl was to not be interested in marriage or children. I came across this post which perfectly articulates this. I'm old enough to remember when men thought that you were cool for not wanting marriage and babies, and wanting those things was considered extremely annoying and oppressive to their freedom. Now men endlessly whine at women for wanting to be childless. I would call it child-free if it's by choice though, okay? Distinction there. And not prioritizing marriage. Truly the biggest indicator that men no longer feel in control of us. The way that Kate Hudson's character tried to drive away Matthew McConaughey's character was to be clingy, want kids and marriage.
I'm gonna limit myself to doing everything girls do wrong in relationships. Basically, everything we know guys hate. I'll be clingy, needy.
Be touchy-feely. Are you single?
Yeah.
Are you straight?
I don't like labels.
To be the cool girl was to not be the ball and chain.
You know what, Doug? You should enjoy yourself because come Sunday, you're going to start dying. Just a little bit. Every day.
Yeah.
All right.
That's why I managed to stay single this whole time, you know?
Think of all of the jokes made at the wife's expense.
I got a wife, kids. Do I sound like a happy guy to you, Frankie? Yeah, that's my wife. Now, see that? Always smiling. Hi, honey. Judging, watching. Look at the baby. Look at the baby.
Think of the environments these kids have been raised in and seeing unhappy marriages or people happier once they've gotten divorced. Think of all of the hetero-fatalism discourse.
Very offended. And then I hit her several times.
And then I got
then-
beat up, and
yeah.
guess what? I never opened my mouth again.
And now women are traitors if we don't want that, if we're not nagging for this? You should think about that. Like, seriously, what do you want? We listened. We got interests and hobbies, friendships, higher education, careers. We're cool, we're chill, we're doing our own thing. We're not dependent and insecure. That's where the problem is.
Who's here with your top priority? Your top priority is get married and have kids. Raise your hand. Okay.
Ew.
Interestingly, I think there is an argument to bring back the MRS degree. And no, seriously. And just be clear, that's why you're going to college, right?
Because I think it is you, the women, who have had the most diabolical lies told to you. How many of you are sitting here now, about to cross this stage, and are thinking about all the promotions and titles you are going to get in your career? Some of you may go on to lead successful careers in the world, but I would venture to guess that the majority of you are most excited about your marriage and the children you will bring into this world. I can tell you that my beautiful wife, Isabel, would be the first to say that her life truly started when she began living her vocation as a wife and as a mother.
Declining birth rates, women staying unmarried, and women not voting in line with their husbands.
Found out Emma was going into the voting booth and pulling the lever for Harris. That's the same thing as having an affair.
We're surrounded by condemnation. Timothee Chalamet recently came under fire when he was discussing what our purpose was. Recalling when he and a friend were watching an interview about this person who was bragging about not having kids and how much time it afforded them to do other stuff.
And what me and my wife spend a lot of time talking about is how much fun stuff we can do because we don't have kids.
Turning to each other, and he said, like, holy oh my god, bleak. Saying to Vogue, some people can't have children or are never in a position to, but that he believes procreation is the reason that we're here. Nothing quite like a rich white man who doesn't have to carry the baby, give birth to the baby, or deal with any of the many repercussions that go along with having a baby in a capitalistic hellscape world to tell you that your purpose is to breed. And Timothy, you're 29, unmarried with no children of your own. Don't you want to be practicing what you preach? Oof. You're getting on in years. Don't you realize that sperm quality declines with age? He's not the only guy that holds this sentiment, though.
We hit this milestone last year. Half of Western women 30 and under have no child, and 90% of them will regret it. That means we're setting up. This is a catastrophe.
Very angry if child-free people, like myself, are happy about the fact that they don't have kids. It's seen as selfish and gross and wrong, especially if you're a woman. There's been a particular tide turning against child-free women with a lot of money being thrown at this. To rolling back laws on bodily autonomy, to demonizing birth control, which I talked about in this video. The fact people with a uterus have a choice is seen as deviant. Being a father is a very different experience to being a mother because the expectations are not as high on fathers. Sometimes it feels like a guy wants a kid in the same way that a child wants to get a puppy, whereas who's the one that's actually looking after the kid or the puppy? It's usually the mother. Statistically, it is mostly the women that are doing the caring, like I've spoken about previously. But we still have the Elons and the Peter Thiels of the world decrying the fact that people aren't having more babies.
People are going to have to regard, to some degree, the notion of having kids as almost a social duty.
And it's these dastard single women who are ruining things. Whilst there is a push for women to have children, it has to be not a single mother though, because single mothers are the worst. And one of my patrons alerted me to forced adoption, which I didn't realise how widespread an issue this was. There were racist reasons like what happened in Canada and Australia. However, what we're focusing on is the targeting of single mothers in particular. The only, quote, sin they committed was being unmarried, which made them into an unfit parent. For example, in Australia, this happened from the mid-20th century, so around 1950s, until 1988 when it was finally abolished. So that means that we've got millennials walking around who are deeply affected by this. It's estimated there are around 250,000 Australians impacted by this. These women had little to no choice about what would happen to their babies, and that many adoptions were arranged through coercive, unethical, or even illegal practices, including removal at birth, restricted access, and consent obtained under duress. As my patron said, unmarried women were automatically deemed unfit, and adoption was enforced as the solution. All of the people involved have been deeply scarred by this. You've got family members who are trying to get the children back. You've got children who grew up not knowing who their parents were. It's horrific for everybody involved and has left deep emotional scars on these people. But the thing is, society still today looks down on single mothers. Now, for me, I can almost see a future where this is implemented in the USA with the way that things are going. They're very much focused on getting girls, specifically when they're young, married and having babies. And I fear that this may be punishment for another way to get people to comply. From the 1980s with Reagan's welfare queen myths all the way to Barack Obama lamenting single mothers, there is still a huge stigma about single mothers in particular. With a lot of moral panic being about the impact on the children being raised without a father, instead of providing resources to the mother to ensure that they can afford all of the things and have a social safety net and all of that good stuff, the blame is put on the mother, the one who stuck around, the one who stayed. Pointing once again to the fact that there is only, quote, one right way to have a family, which is the nuclear family, which was a creation, as we've talked about on this channel before. And all of this also stigmatizes against LGBTQIA+ people, because think about it, when it comes to lesbians, oh my goodness, they are taking 2 women who could potentially be bearing children off the market. That's deviant of them. It's sinful.
Because there are only so many girls. There are only so many girls. And if a significant portion of them are with other girls, there are not.
And people are struggling to get by day to day, yet you're shaming them for not bringing more life into the world, making things even harder for them. The US still doesn't have maternity leave as part of law. Look at places like Iceland or the Nordic countries to get some inspiration and maybe implement those in the US, and people might feel safer about having kids because they have job security. They don't just have to go back to work like 2 weeks after having a baby, which is traumatic for everybody. Social safety nets are being slashed under the name of austerity at the moment. It's happening here, it's happening in the US. Make the environment better. And the maternal mortality rate in the USA is only getting worse as bodily autonomy is being attacked. Mothers living in states that banned abortion are nearly 2 times as likely to during pregnancy, childbirth, or soon after giving birth compared to mothers living in supportive states where abortion was legal and accessible, because abortion is healthcare. As is brought up so many times in the book It's Not Hysteria by Dr. Tang, medical racism combined with medical misogyny means that black women get way worse health outcomes. In the USA, maternal mortality rates are 2 to 4 times higher for black women than for white, Hispanic, or Asian women, reaching 50 deaths per 100,000 live births in 2023. These disparities persist even after adjusting for education and income, pointing to systemic drivers beyond individual socioeconomic status. There is particularly a focus on the decline of white women procreating. Oh, the horrors, because we have the disgusting conspiracy theory of the Great Replacement theory, because white people won't exist anymore. Oh no, think of all the unseasoned food. This is particularly a view that has taken hold in the USA, but many countries around the world are thinking similarly. Nationalism is growing, people are very concerned, and you can look at the UK, you can look at Germany, you can look at Australia, hell, you can even look here, and people are like, oh, white people aren't having enough kids. White deaths now exceed white births in the USA. Among white American women, births have fallen about 19% from 2008 to 2023. How much of that was just Americans collectively getting older? Well, if the population had aged but women had continued to have kids at the same rate as they did in 2008, white births would only have fallen by 2.3%. But a reminder of what happened at the end of 2007, the global financial crisis. And instead of actually investing more in government support and investing in government jobs to make sure that the economy could boom back, that sort of recovery plan didn't happen in the US, and that's unprecedented for that not to happen. So that means that people are more economically precarious, but of course you don't want to address that white elephant in the room. As you can see from this chart measuring birth and death rates in the USA, there are spikes for everyone because of the mass disabling and deadly event of COVID, which is still ongoing. However, white births have continued to decline. And I found it also interesting that mixed birth rates have only been increasing ever since they started to get measured. I wonder what happened in 2016 when this crossover happened, deaths started to overtake births. It's almost like an orange was the best form of contraception. But this really is where this whole moral panic is stemming from. Who'd have thunk it would be racism? Ken Johnson, a University of New Hampshire demographer, spoke about this in the interview. Most of the decline is due to lower fertility among unmarried women, and there are significantly more unmarried women in these age groups than historically. In related news, we've seen an almost as seismic rise in the share of women pursuing higher education. But given that the fertility gaps in education are smaller and the shift is smaller, it seems likely this is a secondary and highly related factor. There's that education issue again. Curse Legally Blonde for inspiring girls to maybe become lawyers. Ugh, such woke propaganda. Her husband supports her, she fought against sexual harassment, and she fights against animal testing. Ugh. She and Elphaba would be best friends, by the way. That is like canon in my head.
You can definitely tell there is a a new play caller in town. The offense is looking, the offense is looking a lot more versatile. They're getting their tight end in there with more reps.
Do you know the other big problem with this clip, where this woman is desperately trying to do her job and maintain professional decorum? She is crying by the end of it. Yeah, you may not have seen the full thing. She just had to endure this humiliation and dehumanization on live camera and not do anything about it. But yeah, we're the ones ruining the workplace. You know the Black Death, the plague that wiped out like, what, a third of Europe or something? This was a great equalizing event. As is discussed in the brilliant book Normal Women by Philippa Gregory, which I have just finished. It's like 27 hours long, but it's a very interesting and good read. Women who took up work in all occupations at rates of pay that had previously been unobtainable chose to marry later or even stay single. Older wives with smaller families caused a decline in the birth rate, and so maintained a smaller population with a shortage of labourers, which in turn kept wages high, encouraging women to prolong their single years. With few male tenants, landlords leased land and houses to single women. Those women were living without husbands and renting in their own right and negotiating for themselves. However, as time went on, women started to get blamed for the plague, and then the whole witchcraft thing came about, and, you know, all women are evil. Women's rights started to get stripped away under the guise of moral decency and restoring natural order. This got cemented in a pay gap which got implemented into law. First laws on labour to force wages back down and create a pay gap between men and women workers. The 1388 Statute of Labour ruled that men got to be paid more than women. Not an enormous pay gap, only a penny a month, but a sign of things to come. But who was it that was pushing for these changes? It was actually the wealthy people, because they wanted to have more land for themselves, they wanted to have more money for themselves. So in order to do that, they had to subjugate the women more. You turn people against the women. We are seeing history rhyming today. And as time went on in the UK, women kept on losing more rights, and then the Industrial Revolution happened, and the call for a breadwinner wage came about. It became a cycle reinforcing inequality for women, as low rates of pay and exclusion from both training and skilled work forced them to depend on men, who then had to earn a wage for at least two people, demanding a breadwinner wage for skilled male work, which employers could afford by paying minimum wages to unskilled women. The many women who could not marry a good earner had no prospect but poorly paid work. Women became industrial lepers in unskilled jobs that men left vacant because they were so ill paid. And women's work got deemed to not be real work in many cases. And the problem is that classism made it so that even if women were doing work in the home, which is real work, which the economy relies upon happening for free, because rich women didn't want to be seen as labouring when they're at home, because they're meant to just be lounging around and living the life of luxury. They made it so that it couldn't be counted on the census that any work was happening at home, that anything that they did was work, because it's unladylike to work. Women can work against women, and classism definitely comes into play here, along with racism, as I'm sure that you are well aware of. Historically, women have been held back from educational settings, having our education, if we were ever granted it, cut off earlier than boys did. And for many years, women weren't even allowed to get degrees. But today, girls are excelling in school and higher education, a setting which was built for boys. It is no surprise to me that education is being attacked and viewed as lesser than in society's eyes, because women are excelling in it. There are many issues with the higher education system, as I spoke about years ago, wearing this exact same dress actually. But instead of those frustrations being aimed at companies who are using AI instead of hiring new graduates, against these institutions which essentially demand a life debt of someone in order to be able to go to higher education, or the governments who allow this to happen, instead the blame is shifted onto women. As I've spoken about previously, anti-intellectualism is a key part of making fascism rise. And the US government have just decided a huge amount of degrees are no longer considered to be professional. And guess what? These are majority women-dominated fields, all brought about by the big, beautiful bill. The new and simplified RAP will see annual loans for new borrowers capped at $20,500 for graduate students and $50,000 for professional students. This means they may not receive full reimbursement for their studies due to this declassification, therefore making it harder financially for women to get education and careers. This is a targeted attack specifically to strip women of their education and independence. The list of those not considered professional are in highly needed healthcare spaces, including nursing, physician assistants, physical therapists, and audiologists. Like, you've got an aging population. These people are desperately needed. Even architects, accountants, and educators and social workers are not deemed professional, which are all high-demand markets. They're saying it's to stop people from going into insurmountable debt, but as one of my patrons rightly said, they could just cap the amount that each credit hourly cost. There are other ways to fix the issues here, but this is targeted. Again, if you refer back to Project 2025, which the tracker handily can break things down for you by each different category, as of filming today on the 27th of November, education targets are at 46% complete. Not only will you notice the attack on contraception, which has already been completed, with menstrual cycle education being taught instead of contraception. Once again, a direct attack on independence. Eliminate the Plus Loan program is in progress. Cap the indirect cost rate paid to universities is in progress. Break up the Department of Education is in process, along with a host of other things too. An uneducated population is a compliant one, as Second Thought is already talked about, which I will link their video for you down below. We've been told that we've ruined the workplace. There is no such thing as conservative feminism, by the way, because conservative by definition means the status quo. Feminism by definition means going against the status quo. It's so funny when people are like, why can't people be like feminists of the past? As if they weren't like causing all sorts of mayhem in order to try and get some rights. It's revisionist history, I can't. But workplaces just aren't the same, you know. You can't say stuff anymore. Oh, I don't want to work with a woman because what if she claims that I'm harassing her for just treating her normally? Well, are you treating her any differently than you'd treat Bill or Ted over there, you know? And the thing is that workplaces have purposely become more hostile, which is causing women to actually leave workplaces. But that is for a future video, which we do not have time to get into today.
Everything about effort. Like, why is the effort doesn't matter when I go to work? What is this? Like, I want you to write a card. What are you talking about? Write a card. Explain to me the effort. Right? Because
if your girl orders food for you or cooks food for you, which one means more?
I like it when she cooks, but if she was like, I'd rather just order it, I'm totally cool with that. I just like the fact that she put, she like... Oh, yeah! I just like the fact that she puts what?
I needed to end this video by giving you a little chuckle, a little giggle. Just watching that penny drop moment just feels so good, doesn't it? It's because she makes the, oh no, I've trapped myself. If you actually want to look at the history of dating in the USA, I highly recommend this video from Intellectual Media, which they just dropped this week. It's fantastic. But I also want to make sure that you know that if you're seeing more anger directed towards women, more anger at women not having children, more anger at women being single, panic about birth rates, attack on human rights, and more people saying that women should marry young and have kids, it's not a coincidence. Women are being used as a scapegoat for the ills of the world in the same way as happened historically. A lot of this backlash is because the ultra-rich are leaning into promoting it along with neonatal and racist ideas. Which also leads me on to that future video topic of people who are wanting the soft life, because right-wing propaganda is working so very hard trying to sell this soft life of if you give up your career, if you give up your job, you're actually gaining a nicer, kinder, gentler life. There's this big allure of this cozier, stress-free, nature-filled life with your kids where you bake sourdough and everything's great, and no matter how hard Erica Kirk is girl bossing along with all of her other girl bosses who are underneath her, it's still not working on everyone. Instead of recognizing that the system is broken, that wealth inequality only continues to grow, and we may actually see our first ever trillionaire, who could well be Elon Musk, and recognizing that social safety nets and jobs are being cut because of these rich people. Because of patriarchal teaching, women are blamed as the problem. And of course, if it's not us, then it's immigrants as well. And then we get used as like this whole like benevolent sexism scapegoat. So it's like, oh, we've got to protect the women against the immigrants. And it's just, that's a whole other video I could get into. The fact that especially white women are not getting married young and popping out lots of babies is seen as a huge problem is why I think that doctor from the very start of this video got targeted so heavily. 15 million views on that with all of those heinous comments. I think a lot of that happened because she's a white, blue-eyed, blonde-haired woman who is disobeying patriarchy by getting an education instead of focusing on finding a man. By getting educated, she made herself out of people's league, which made people attack her instead.
It's over! Glass ceiling? Dude, it's a ceiling made of bricks. You will never break it. Your stupid face keeps hitting the brick ceiling. We will keep you down forever.
Is it any surprise that girls aren't looking forward to marriage when they're being confronted with this? For me, there are pretty easy fixes, and it comes with challenging patriarchy. If you made it to the end of this video, thank you so very much, because it makes a massive difference when it comes to YouTube and like showing my video to other people. In honor of Dr. Juliet Turner from the start of the video, let's leave the lab coat emoji, why don't we? Thanks again to NoCD for sponsoring today's video. Click the link in my description box to book a free call and learn more. And a massive thank you to my patrons as always, who are the ones who shape the videos that you see before you, and an extra special thank you to my top tier Trash Panda enablers. Alyssa, Anna, Bigot, Caroline and Violet, Carrie, Danielle, Elise, Amberly McCulley, Hamster Posty, Jamisa Brown, Jess, Laura Bell, Christine Rangan, Mark Tremonti is God, Megan Connolly, Mila Gauthier, Natalie R, Nathan, Nicole H, River, Ryder, Spooky Jade, Tammy Poitras, Tonya Banier, Varu Catmama, and Zophema. I hope you all have a great rest of your week. I know that we're at a very stressful sort of time of year, so if you want me to do lighter videos for December, I'm more than happy to do that. If there's a terrible movie you want me to talk about, I'm happy to do that. You let me know what you want me to do a video on next time, or it could be on that very popular option that the patrons were very close to winning that vote on, so guess we'll see, but you tell me. See you next time. Bye.